online.
All right, I think we'll get started. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. This is the first session right after lunch, so it could be a little bit dragged, but we'll try to make it entertaining for you. My name is Arun Gupta. I work for a nonprofit called as DevOps for Kids. Our primary goal here is to educate kids and spark STEM interest in them. We run chapters all over the world. So today we are going to talk about using Minecraft mods for teaching. And of course, how many of you play Minecraft? Of course. Well, keep your hands up. How many of you play Minecraft for 1 hour a day? Keep your hands up, yeah? 2 hours a day? 3 hours a day? Depends on the day, yeah. 4 hours a day? And your parents are watching, right? So, well, OK. Let me ask the question in a different way now. How many of you download mods? Of course. How many of you create your own mods? There you go. So I love seeing some hands over there. So today, the topic of our panel is going to be, is Minecraft modding an effective mechanism to teach for programming, for schools, for fundamental science, for mathematics, for physics, whatever comes to your mind. And I'm very excited that the panelists with me, my co-panelists, are some people who have invested several years total in terms of either creating a Minecraft modding platform, or they are into the education industry where they're building platform to do that. So I'm going to go one by one. So once again, my name is Arun Gupta. I run DevOps for Kids. I have authored a Minecraft modding with Forge book, which is available for in the store downstairs. And I also maintain minecraftmodding.org website, where there are lots of free courses available where you can download, play, whether using Forge, whether using Spigot, all variety of workshops are available. So if you want to play with that, you are certainly welcome to that.
My name's Michael Dardis, better known as MD5. Come all the way up from Australia. I've been within the Minecraft community for just over 5 years now. What I currently do is maintain Spigot, which is the server modding platform. So if you make plugins or whatever, you probably write them and run them on Spigot. I really enjoy creating the server modding platform because it's the multiplayer servers that bring everyone together to collaborate, learn new things, and all of that jazz. Thank you.
My name is Ryan Michella. I've been working on I've been doing Minecraft modding since the very early days of online modding and building Bucket plugins and Spigot plugins and even HMod plugins for the very old days. Anyway, I explore using mods to build to explore computer science and thank you.
My name is Justin, and when I saw Toy Story, I wanted to be an animator when I was a kid. And so I looked everywhere I could to try to find out how to be an animator like they did in Toy Story. And eventually I found a really big book this thick. And when I got out of college, I decided that I wanted to create a better way for kids to learn how to create with technology than giant books. And so we started a company called Youth Digital, and we teach kids how to create their own video games, animations, and also Minecraft mods and servers for the past 6 years. And we have a few of our students here in the audience as well, which is really exciting.
My name is Daniel O'Sullivan. In a former life, I was a middle and high school teacher over in the UK. And then I took a step into educational startups and specifically teaching kids to code. And now I am education specialist at Code Kingdoms, which is an online platform that lets you code Minecraft and build your own mods.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So this is, so you see that the panel is pretty elite. We have been really dealing with this Minecraft modding for a while, either building a platform or talking to schools or running our own products to teach people about how to use Minecraft mods effectively, write Minecraft mods effectively. So the way we're going to run this panel is I have a few questions that I want to ask these panelists. Some of them know the questions, but they don't know exactly what the question is going to be. I can twist the question any point of time. So there is no product pitching here. I want to make sure that we're purely talking about education aspect of it. And then once we have done the discussion, we would encourage the attendees to ask the question. Now, if you want to ask the question, there is the microphones in the 2 aisles. Pick either of the aisles, and then you can ask the question. But to begin with, I have a few questions that I want to run with so that you understand our perspective in that, and then you're welcome to ask the questions. So with that, I'm going to start with my very first question. My first question is, can modding be the right medium for first introduction to programming? Do you really, if you're starting with a Java program, do you really have to write public static void main, that cryptic syntax, which is very difficult to explain a 10-year-old kid? How do you explain this? Like when my son and I wrote the book, he wanted to learn Java programming. So I said, okay, how do I explain what is public, what is static, it's too much of a burden to explain, and then you have lost the interest in programming. So does Minecraft modding simplify that in any extent?
I think modding is an absolutely fantastic way to get started with programming, because it means that you take a platform which the kids already love. You're playing Minecraft, you've done all this, you've killed the Ender Dragon and that, and then it becomes, how can I extend this? How can I make this my own thing? And starting modding that platform to make it your own thing is, I think, a really great entry into that whole world of development and everything that comes next.
When I started programming decades ago, I was really happy when I could get the computer to show my name on the screen 100 times. That was a big deal for me. But standards have changed, and now the great thing about Minecraft is that you can start programming, and with a very small amount of code, you can make an impact on a game that's really huge, and it's something you can share with your friends, because if all you've got is a computer, you spend a whole afternoon studying to get a computer to sprint your name out 100 times on the screen, like, no one thinks that's cool anymore. But modding Minecraft, with the same amount of effort, you can produce something that's really amazing and all your friends can check out.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add on to that is that because kids already know how everything works inside of Minecraft, it's very easy to then look at the code and to transpose that knowledge onto the code. So if you know that a particular type of mob scares away creepers, you can look at that code and see exactly how it scares away creepers. And so it's a really great contextual sort of library when you already know the way things behave, to then see them in code, and it just makes sense a lot quicker than it would if you were just writing, printing your name out 100 times, for example.
I think there's a motivation element in it as well. I think where there are a lot of tools available that do flatten that steep learning curve that could potentially come with Java, the fact that someone that wants to code Minecraft is probably a big Minecraft fan, the motivation to actually achieve that goal and have a bit of resilience to get there is probably much better instilled within that person. So when they do come up against some challenges that might go with learning to code with Java, they're actually thinking, well, I want to get to that point where these creepers do this or these mobs do this, actually keeps them resilient in that.
So now, yes, it seems like we all agree Minecraft modding could be a good starting platform to learn programming, but there are quite a few bit of challenges involved when you want to get started with Minecraft modding. Like typically when we have done the workshops in our meetups, just telling the parents that you need to download JDK, install JDK. What do I need to do? What is JDK? Where do I click it? How do I install it? Yeah, just open up your command prompt and what is command prompt? So, and these are real experiences. We are talking to parents where kids are a lot more savvy than parents, and we want them to be like that. But my question to each of you is, the platform, yes, modding itself is a good platform, but there are so many challenges, JDK, Eclipse and NetBeans and Forge and run this command, and it's going to take 10 minutes to do something from the internet. I don't have a good internet. My password, my computer doesn't have the administrator privileges, or I only have 500 megabytes of disk space. So how do we solve that problem to enable these kids to be able to mod?
So I think the ultimate question there is Java a good platform to get started with modding? And I think it's impossible to have, a perfect platform. However, at the same time, Java is, I think, a very good platform to get started with modding. It doesn't have the steepest learning curve if it was, a C or C++ program. At the same time, it's got a lot of power, and what you could be doing at age 10 is not that dissimilar to what you could be doing at age 20, age 30 if you're working as a full-time Java developer. So it does provide a way to take the same skills from modding and then apply them to real-world job situations. And the good thing about the whole Minecraft platform, especially the server platform, is you don't have to stick with just Java. There are other simpler languages that you can also use to just get started. And I know we even have people who've created their own languages, such as script, which are specifically designed to do Minecraft modding. And you can essentially program in natural English sentences, you know. When wooden block breaks, drop 10 diamonds or something. And that's what makes Java and the Minecraft platform as a whole really easy to get into in terms of start down the bottom and work your way all the way to the advanced stuff.
One of the things I really like about Minecraft as a platform for teaching computer programming is that, like you were saying, start from the bottom and work your way up. At the very easiest level, you've got, Redstone. And you can learn a lot about computer programming and about thinking about inputs and outputs with Redstone. And then from there, you can move up to command blocks and learn more about, how to build scripts and how to structure statements. Higher than that, you get up to things like computer craft that let you use simple programming languages in the game. And then finally, when, as you've gotten better and kids learn more, you can start to graduate towards actually modding with, say, Java itself. So as it starts, at the very easiest level, you've got very little control. Redstone can only do so much, and on the hardest level, Java can do basically everything. But in between, there's lots of building blocks that you can use to transition from I know nothing about programming at all the way up to full-fledged computer programming used by professionals.
It is still pretty hard to get started when you're doing real modding. That being said, it's quite a bit easier now than it was, 3 or 4 years ago, definitely. And I think one of the most exciting things is all the different ways the community is trying to make it easier for kids to get started modding. There's a few people on this panel here who've built tools, but also there's just a lot of great resources out there to get you started, because really getting that initial setup is like the hardest piece. But once you get that done and ready, there's just a few lines of code and you can start to make magic happen. So the biggest thing we tell our students is to not give up when they're facing problems with technology. And I think if you want to do it badly enough with the resources, especially the really cool resources that exist now, it's definitely doable to get started.
Yeah, I think if you do want to go right in at the deep end and use Java as your first modding language, then by all means do. But the various tools that have been mentioned here, I think you can still get a lot out of some of the more basic ones that are specifically designed for young modders. A big thing that's jumping in my mind at the moment is the element of computational thinking. So actually, even if you are even using perhaps what's not considered a real coding language, the elements that go into actually structuring an algorithm, even if it is in plain English, are just as important and applicable for them if you do go and say, right, now I'm ready for Java. So I think if you go for Java, great. If you want to start a little bit lower than that or a more straightforward to use environment, then I think that's a lot to get from that as well.
True. I think what I want to highlight is what Justin was saying, particularly that how once the initial setup is done, typically when we have done these workshops around the world, if it's a 2-hour workshop, first 45 minutes is like we're running like headless chicken, with all the machines. Okay, let me get the environment ready. Let me have the JDK up and running. Let me have the Eclipse running. It's a complex setup. So, there is something definitely that the industry needs to do to simplify that, provide a platform. And in that sense, Youth Digital is one of those platforms. And there are other tools, but Java is not the only bar that you need to look at. We have seen examples of people using Raspberry Pi and modding in Python. So there are all sorts of different languages, the lower bar. Now, I want to switch the gears a little bit. I want to ask you guys, do you think modding is, if you have, first of all, there are 2 mics on each aisle. So I want to hear your comments or questions, particularly on that aspect. Do you think modding is the right platform for first introduction to programming? And if there are any experiences.
Can you hear me? So,
Yeah.
my kids, I wanted to teach them programming. So, my son, I'm kind of nervous. I don't know why. Shouldn't be. But I'm a Java programmer for years, and then started Ruby, and now I'm a polyglot. I program all kinds of languages. But he wanted to I wanted to use it to modify. He's a Minecraft freak, and we wanted to modify it. So the hardest part was, like you said, the setup. There's a decompiler in MD5. Are you the one that built that, where you can decompile and recompile? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that'd be correct.
So that's really cool, but it's not like supported by Minecraft, right? Or
Yeah, so one of the main reasons that, just speaking on us, and also the modding community in general has to jump through sort of, decompile yourself and that, is because at the end of the day, Minecraft is a proprietary platform and we have to stay as far away from Microsoft's exclusive rights as possible. So it would be nice for them to support the modding community and make it easier in that way. However, at the same time, the community's been doing this for 5-6 years now, and it's a pretty established way to get things done.
established, but I felt pretty, I don't want to say dirty, but a little
Yeah.
bit dirty, decompiling somebody else's jar, and felt little. So anyway, what I did is went to Scratch and did some training in Scratch, and the block building is great. But the results are nice, but it would be great if it was Minecraft with the blocking, a really simple language like that. So anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the code.org in that sense is to that nature. There was very blocky nature, but the target audience is much lower. I guess if you have a Swiss Army knife, then you can definitely do a lot more things. But if you only have a hammer, you can only hit a nail. That's the difference between code.org and using a full-blown platform for doing extensive modding.
I did the Minecraft Hour of Code, like probably many of you have. That is a completely approachable learning curve, I believe, even for very small children. But I'm 28 and I could barely get the IDE on my system. That bottom level of jar, and even with really strong understanding of basic computer science, attacking the Java language is difficult. And I feel like I appreciate you guys building tools that allow us to meet that translation gap much more easily. And I think in terms of education, the modders have done well in terms of making things that are educational, but a lot of their complexity is extraneous as opposed to going into super details about coulombs and ohms and electronics and stuff like that, or various physics properties. I feel like there's an opportunity for depth there.
Yeah, I agree. I always say that your kid's first Java program doesn't have to be public static void main. The first Java program could be how to make a bigger TNT explosion. So the approach that generally we take over there is, let's teach them enough that, okay, you want to make a bigger TNT explosion? Here's a class. You need to understand class. Here's a method. And in the method, here is an annotation, and that's it. How do you change the bigger TNT explosion? You change the block size from 2 to 4, and 4 to 18, or 4 to whatever number you want to do it, and that'll work. So we always take this minimalist approach, where we teach them, only expose them to the minimal part of the code. Don't worry about all the other details. As we get to it, if it throws an exception, we talk about it. You don't have to say, oh, what is a class cast exception? My mind just blows away completely when I see class cast. Forget about a little child.
One of the things I love about the Minecraft community is that everyone's completely obsessed with YouTube. And YouTube is an amazing platform for learning basic programming techniques, like how to set up your environment. There's 100 YouTube videos for that. How to create a simple plugin for like Spigot. I can't count how many fantastic videos there are out there of people walking you through the process. So there's just so much content on YouTube, and also documented on other web pages for how to get into writing your own mods.
So I got into hello. Okay. So I got into programming through Minecraft. I wanted to, make the game do what I wanted. So, I learned how to code, and eventually I decided, all right, this. The API that I'm working on with doesn't do what I want. Like for a long time, for example, plugging my own API, you couldn't modify villagers with Bucket until I wrote something to do that. And a problem that I think a lot of people have is just that sometimes you can't do things with an API, and you have to dig into the internals of Minecraft to be able to tell it what you want to do. And there's some things that you can't even do just if you touch the internals. Like, you can't change the maximum number of blocks a piston can push. That's a hard-coded number. What do you guys think about, about things being hard-coded into the game and APIs not being complete? Should people know, should people be able to try to figure out how to fix them and maybe even tell the people who write the API how to fix it?
I think it's important to understand that the word we're using here is modding. We're essentially taking what Mojang and Microsoft have written and we're modding it. So the stuff that gets done is essentially what they've done. We're taking it and applying our own stuff to it. So you mentioned programming APIs. That's essentially our attempt at making the code which they've written more accessible to the general developer. And of course, there's no way that we're ever going to get 100% coverage of everything that they've written, because then we'd just be writing the game for them. So it's just about trying to give developers and children the absolute best tool set that we can produce in order to do what they want. And if our tool set unfortunately can't achieve that, then if they've got the skills, they can step up and dive right in and do proper hardcore modding. And if they do that, then that gives them a really good learning opportunity to contribute back to the community and get involved with all open source communication skills and all of that that'll really help them in later life.
One of my biggest asks from Microsoft, honestly, is, we've been hearing about this modding API from Mojang itself, and that's been forever. I want a formal modding API, and coming to your point that, those values are certain hard-coded, that to me is a poor design. I want that to be extensible. I want that to be somebody can override those values. If you want us to modify it, give me a hook where I can put my code in there, and I can say I can override that method, and now I have a bigger TNT explosion, whatever. I'm just picking an example. We'll take one more question before we get back to the panel, and then we will bring you guys back in. So I'll take the last question there for now.
Do you know what the language Kotlin is?
Sorry, what was that?
Do you know what the language Kotlin is? Because that's required for my question.
I've never heard of the language.
Oh,
yet.
it's a language which tries to make Java basically look simpler and just remove all the unnecessary use of keywords. What would you think about something like that as a starting point for modding as opposed to Java itself?
Well, as we all said earlier, modding is not just it's not a discrete set of steps that you can take. It's a continuous spectrum. You can start down the bottom and just work your way continuously up. And I think in terms of that, Kotlin as a language, fits somewhere below Java. It's not quite as simple as sort of script and maybe Python or something, but it has its place there, as do all languages, both simpler than Java and more complex.
Yeah, so Kotlin, in that sense, it's a good language, but it's a very different language. The key part being the game is written in Java. It compiles to the bytecode. It can run as a bytecode, but can you invoke Java? It's a lot of ceremony involved as part of that.
Kotlin compiles to the JVM.
Right. That's my point. It compiles to the bytecode. So I think it's going to be a bit of a ceremony. I've not seen personally anybody using Kotlin to write a mod to run Minecraft. So I think that we'll resume the questions in a few more minutes, but my next question really is very appropriate in that sense. We have looked at the variety of platforms. There is all the way hardcore Java modding with block-based modding. What is sort of the appropriate age, and what do you define modding as? And maybe I'll start with Daniel this time.
I think given the right tools, and we've talked about a few here, as young as 7 and 8, and again, it comes back to the creative genius, I think, that comes with the Minecraft community. You ask a 7 and 8-year-old that loves Minecraft, they know exactly what they want to build in Minecraft. They know what they want to do with Minecraft, and in some cases, they probably show you that they've already done it. So actually, the main thing there is linking it to their motivation for doing it again. they give them some age-appropriate tools and spark some creativity in their minds about what they can build, and they'll do it. Like, we've seen 7 and 8-year-olds tackle modding very, very easily.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that if you can follow a mouse and a screen on a computer, and if you can read, you can mod, given the tools that are out there. So I don't think there's any age that's too young necessarily, and maybe not even any age that's too old either.
When I've helped out with Minecraft modding classes in San Francisco, we've always had a couple of really young kids in the class, and everyone was able to be successful, and I thought that was really cool. I think one of the key things is having someone who can help as a guide. I imagine if you're, I can only imagine trying to be like 6 years old on the internet, trying to learn how to program alone. That would be pretty hard. But if you've got someone who can help you, like, programming is just a simple way of thinking. It's typing and thinking in language. So I think anyone can learn to program.
Yeah, I think these guys to my right are really committed to ensuring that people as young as 6, 7, 8, 9 can really get in there and start programming. Anecdotally, I've spoken to kids as young as 9 that have been writing top quality Java code, so there really is no bottom age limit.
Yeah, a couple of points I want to highlight here. When we talk about modding, modding doesn't necessarily mean you must program in Java. And if you look at code.org or hour.code, there are simpler block-based modding as well. That's called as modding too. But if you do want to get a full power, yes, I want a V8 Mustang, with GT. Yes, of course, you go with Java. Or if you want just a Toyota Camry, and that'll still take you from point A to point B, you can still do it using hour of code. It does the job, but it depends how much power you want to get out of it. So that's one part of it. The other part, I'll say what Ryan was saying is particularly, we are a nonprofit. As nonprofit, we are purely fueled by our passion. And as one of those things, what we did is we did summer workshops for kids. I live in the Bay Area, in the Cupertino School District. So for 8 weeks, I was going and giving workshops to these kids. They were showing up 45 minutes before their scheduled school start, and 45 minutes we were telling them how to do Minecraft modding. And these were, by the way, 4th and 5th grade kids. And this was a full-blown Java Minecraft modding class. This was not hour of code, which is much simpler age. Once again, the experience being, the initial kickoff experience is a little bit hard when you want to understand what is a class, what is a method, and once you help them create the analogies that, okay, it's a bucket, and then the bucket has crayons. Similarly, you have a Java package, and you have multiple classes in there. How do you sort them? Then they connect with it. So, we have seen kids as young as in 4th grade, even 3rd grade sometimes, depending upon the kid's ability to do Java Minecraft modding. But then certainly younger kids, 2nd, 3rd grade, we have done those Scratch-based Minecraft modding platforms with them, which works very well too.
Yeah, I've always been really impressed by some of the quality code that can come out of very young children on the internet, particularly in the Minecraft community. I accidentally tried to hire one once and discovered that he was like only 12. So,
yeah. All right, one more question that I want to ask is, what would you like from Mojang, and maybe I'll start with Justin this time. What would you like from Mojang/Microsoft to improve the overall modding experience?
Yeah, I think some of the things that have already been mentioned here would be awesome. In a lot of ways, we're just thankful for the opportunity to be able to teach kids to code with Minecraft, because if you ask a kid, do you want to learn how to code? Sometimes the answer will be yes. A lot of times the answer will be why, and especially if they don't understand it. And what we found is, if instead you say, do you want to add your own sword into Minecraft? It could be made out of bacon or chicken nuggets or whatever you want. The answer is almost always yes, or maybe it's an app or whatever. And it's just so exciting to be able to teach them to code using their favorite game. I think for me when I was a kid, it would have been Pokemon. If I could have modded Pokemon, I'd probably be a developer right now. So instead, I'm teaching kids how to create with Minecraft. So anyway, I think it's quite exciting what they have enabled us to do. I think obviously some sort of API, or there's a lot of things happening with their new versions, their C++ versions, which are I think exciting and I think good indicators that there could be potentially some cool stuff to come. And so we're keeping our eyes open, of course, but just incredibly thankful to be able to do it with the tool.
I'll add to that. I think in the education edition that they're working on now, I think there's a big responsibility, and I am biased given the proximity with which I work with Minecraft, to actually really instill what the educational benefits of Minecraft can be within schools, and namely with teachers. I speak as a former teacher, and I think if you'd, the technology I used when I was in the classroom, I think if you'd come to me and told me the virtues and the benefits of using Minecraft, I probably would have been pretty perceptive to that. But I think there's a real emphasis on actually going out and showing teachers what it can be capable of, whether that's modding and programming or using the education edition as it was with Minecraft EDU. That's what I would like to see. Teachers being shown this is a great learning tool, because the expansive and open platform that it is, you can slot so much learning on top of that across so many subjects.
Yeah, Microsoft is an enormous company, and they love software. They are such wonderfully geeky people at Microsoft. I love them. But as big as they are, I would love to see them make computer programming and software education a first-class part of the Minecraft experience. Mm-hmm. Like, imagine, I mean, in my hypothetical world, if there was some magic keystroke you could type, and a developer console just like slid down in Minecraft itself, so that programming Minecraft was not something you had to do with tools you downloaded off the internet and things that are reverse engineered by the community, but was actually a first-class part of the Minecraft experience, and that Minecraft could really be used as an educational tool from learning about, let's just work together in teams in a classroom, all the way up through the highest ends of, American computer science education.
Yeah, I think these guys have covered it really well. Microsoft's done a great job of providing a platform and allowing people to build on their platform. Whilst it would be nice to have all these other fancy things, and it would be really good for the community and the teaching and all of that, at the same time, the status quo is quite good as it is. And the modding community's been around 6-7 years, and in that time, there's been a very vibrant and extensive community built up around that.
Right. I mean, my only ask from Microsoft would be, you're such a big company, and I have very high hopes. I had my own concerns when Microsoft acquired Mojang, but the way they have seamlessly now integrated, sometimes I feel like, the moment they mention Xbox, is it a market pitch, or is it really genuinely they're talking about Minecraft over there? But so far it has felt like that it has been a genuine integration with the rest of the Microsoft platform, and hopefully they'll continue to expand. And I'm particularly looking forward to as well the new C++ tool that is coming out, and how that's going to help us improve the modding experience, further dumb it down. Now, one last question before I open it up to the attendees again. What is it that needs to be done in the schools? Because we have done several of these workshops at different schools in Bay Area for Minecraft modding. What is it that needs to be done in STEM education around the world, not just US essentially, but what is it that needs to be done over there so that Minecraft modding could become essentially a fundamental part of the education itself?
For me, it's the fact that the 4 letters that make up STEM have been put together, and quite commonly, though not exclusively, they're not necessarily taught together in schools. I know this is certainly true in the UK, and it may well be here in the US and various other places around the world. But actually, putting the science, technology, engineering, and maths, rather than having them as 4 separate subjects, say, right, I've got the freedom within my timetable, within my curriculum. My school leader has made it possible for me to have a week of STEM education, integrated STEM education. And if you can imagine what you would have if you would be in teams, which is highly likely given the collaborative nature of Minecraft, what you could build in a week with a team of 5 students, and making sure that actually you're not just dealing with maths in isolation, you're not just dealing with engineering in isolation, you're not just dealing with science in isolation. Just a very, very simple example being with like a parkour mod. If you have the spatial awareness of actually knowing what the positioning of that is, just using axes, that's a very obvious way of integrating maths with a more extended project that you're building. And I think just taking down those barriers in any way possible, giving teachers the freedom to actually teach them together. And that obviously needs to come from school leaders, but it needs to come from districts and higher than that as well.
Yeah, I think something as exciting as coding can actually be made quite boring if taught incorrectly. So if you imagine doing a worksheet, which I've seen some, learning what a method is, on a sheet of paper, it can be a real turnoff to a lot of students. I think there's a tremendous opportunity to teach coding and STEM in general in the context of a project, maybe with a team. We're actually building something or making something that you were creating yourself. That a lot of parents thank us for tricking their kids into learning, which I think is reflective of the fact that learning's not supposed to be fun. However, if you are learning something that you actually want to know how to do, it can be quite exhilarating. And so in the context of creating something, whether it's a Minecraft mod or a video game or a science project or whatever, it's so much more exciting to learn to use code or even math in the context of building something as opposed to just being tested on it. So I think using that project-based focus it's a huge opportunity, especially in the STEM and technology education.
I agree that the project-based part makes it so much easier to learn to program. If you're just picking up a book and saying, I want to learn to program because I've been told programming is important, well, it's like being told I need to learn algebra because someone told me algebra will one day be important. It doesn't work very well. But if you've got a reason to learn to program, like I want to learn to program because I want to make awesome stuff in Minecraft, like bacon hammers or something, it makes programming fun to learn.
I think even though we use the word modding to describe what we're doing, I think it's important to realize that when we say modding, we're not talking about just getting out there and writing code to teach computer science. We're talking about STEM as a whole. So to use examples brought up before, you've got Redstone teaching you logic gates, all of that. There was a mod that came out at one point teaching quantum mechanics via Minecraft. That's pretty insane stuff. Someone's made a mod to teach high-level physics to young students just using the concepts that they have in Minecraft. I myself, I'm a chemistry student, and it's easy to see how in Minecraft, with just a little bit of modding, stuff could go a long way into teaching those core STEM concepts aside from computer science. I mean, the potion system that you have inbuilt is almost a perfect analog for the type of synthesis that you can do in real-world chemistry.
Yeah, I think your point is particularly very relevant in the sense that it's not just about modding. Essentially, you have to think logically. You have to think about it, a simple concept like an event-driven programming where I break a block and then I need to do something on top of it. Then you give an analogy that, okay, you know what, your dad asks you to go get something from the refrigerator, you listen to it, you do that. So kind of creating those real-life analogies helps you think logically, structure logically, and more importantly, express logically that, okay, if I don't write the code that way, it's not going to behave it that way. So that to me is very fulfilling. Every time I've given the Minecraft modding workshop to thousands of kids around the world, and every time I see a sparkle in the kid, to date it still gives me chills. That this is exciting. Every kid is exciting, opportunity in that sense. So those are all the questions that I had. I think we have about 20 minutes for all sorts of questions. If you have any questions on the topic of, there are mics on both sides of the aisle. I would request people who are standing in the queue, please give them a preferred chance first, and then other people can line up. So I will start with you.
Yes, I lead a coding club for middle school age students back in North Carolina. And we haven't gotten into Minecraft related stuff yet, but I know that's something I have two kids that have learned Java based on Minecraft, their excitement about Minecraft. But I haven't really broached that yet with a larger group in the club. So I've been investigating Scriptcraft with Spigot to teach them modding with JavaScript. Has anybody got any experience with that? Is it worth spending time on?
Since it's my platform, I don't have any personal experience with a lot of stuff, but I will say that there's obviously a talented person in the community that's gone and created this tool. And if it does what you want and it helps to achieve what you want, then by all means, go ahead and use it.
I haven't looked at it too much yet, but I think JavaScript as an environment for 35 kids in a room will be a lot easier to get involved with than like Eclipse and all that.
So I think we had experience with Scriptcraft once, and my son kind of played around with it a little bit. And his thought was that essentially you are writing command blocks in JavaScript and then issuing them from JavaScript, more on those lines. You don't really learn too much of a JavaScript syntax on it. You know, I'm always looking for it. If I'm doing something, am I learning just one thing, or can I learn multiple things as part of it? So that was sort of, and maybe he's been programming Java for a few years now. So he's like, Dad, this is not Java, this is JavaScript. And like, why is it not a typed language? Why is this a type unsafe language? I don't like the syntax of it. So he just backed off from it. But that's purely a personal experience. But as he said, it's definitely one of the platforms. And if that works for you, if it solves the problem, go for it. But I don't think it's a full-blown platform because it's running in the JavaScript environment in that sense.
Something I think would be really fun for your class would be to have one server where all of the mods are installed on at the same time. Like I did with some of my coworkers once. I was just teaching them bucket modding at the time, and everyone was having fun writing their own little plugin. But then we put them all on the same server, and like when one guy's exploding chickens started triggering someone else's lightning storms, and everything burned to the ground, it was such a delightful experience, and I think that would make for a wonderful class.
That's a funny example there. One of the coding examples for Scriptcraft is exploding chickens. And I do have a server set up with Spigot already, and it's pulling from GitHub scripts. So this kids can, if we start using it, they can just push it to a repository, and it'll automatically load them on the server, and they can play together. I thought it would be a fun.
Yeah, the creative chaos would be fantastic.
Yeah.
That sort of leads into the question I was going to be asking. You've talked quite a bit about how love of Minecraft and wanting to see it do things is a motivating factor in learning how to mod things. But that occurring in a vacuum is one thing, but when you start to share that with others in your class, in your community, I'm wondering if you can talk to how that motivates people to collaborate and to work together, but also the idea of installing all the mods on a server and having everything blow up is one thing that happens, but there's also that whole debugging and problem solving that the community can maybe help provide, and I'm wondering if you can talk to that back and forth between getting motivation from the community to learn and also getting help back to make things better as you share.
Yeah, I think the collaborative element, I think a big motivation for any child, any human being, if someone's going to see your end product and you're going to share that, whether that be within your class, your camp, or around the world, that really does up the stakes of what you want to show people. If you do something that's completely in isolation, you think, oh, it's a bit half done, and you might be like, well, that's all right for me. But if you're showing it to someone and they're playing it, and you're very proud of it, then that motivation is completely through the roof. There's a big element we have in our UK computer science curriculum is actually showing people how to share digital content, whether that's modding, whether that's a YouTube video they've created, whatever. A big part of that is actually showing it to other people and sharing it with that audience. So it's ingrained in the UK computer science national curriculum. So I would certainly say that's true.
I think you learn so much from community as well. When you share something, one of two things can happen. People can love it and be like, I can't believe you made this. You're only 11 years old, and that would be great. But the other best case scenario is that you fail, they don't like it, and they said, I don't understand it at all. And you learn so much from sharing and seeing, that your mod maybe isn't quite as easy as you thought it was, or wasn't quite as explicit as it might be. And I think from that process, you learn to refine and perfect your craft, and you learn so much, whether it's successful and people love it, or even if you fail the first time, it's not quite as good as you thought. There's so much you can learn from just creating and sharing that with the community.
Yeah, I think we have done both client-side and server-side modding classes. And I think those are wonderful opportunities teaching them the basic concepts of client-server itself. That client-side mod is only your mod. Server-side is a shared mod. So if you want to use a server-side mod, then you use Spigot or Bucket or something like that. If you're using client-side mod, then you can do Forge or something like that. And even with the client-side mod, for example, sharing is an important aspect. Most of the time, kids come to our workshop. I built this cool mod. I want to share it. I want to go back home, brag to my friends. I built this. I want to give them a jar file, which they can drop in their Minecraft launcher, and they can see all the cool mods that I built. So there is so much, whether you're picking a client-side platform or a server-side platform, there is so much you can learn from either ways. I've seen that.
Where would you say is the best place to learn Java or start making mods or plugins for Minecraft?
Probably the best place is Google, because it can lead you to a whole host of places. I think there's a lot of...
We're at a Microsoft convention, so actually
Yeah,
Bing,
sorry,
please.
Bing. That's right. At least it's a place to start, because there's a number of really great tools out there.
Yeah.
I think, to me, Google is the most confusing tool. Or, you said Bing?
Bing.
Bing? What is Bing?
Microsoft search engine.
I got to Google Bing, yeah. Google is as overwhelming as supporting. You look for a tool over there, you got pages and pages of information over there. As a young programmer, if you want to start with, it's sometimes very hard for you. Do I click on the first link? How much time do I spend on this? If I'm not getting it, do I go back and try the second link, third link? How far down the rabbit hole do I go till I find the one thing that I really like? So it becomes very challenging in that sense. I would say, we are a nonprofit, so I would say take a look at minecraftmodding.org. We have Forge workshops, we have Spigot workshops, all sorts of workshops over there, free, completely free. Download it, run with it. Those workshops have been given around the world multiple times. I don't think you need to know really Java programming for them. Pretty much it's mostly copy-paste. One of the beauty of the Java programming language is, as verbose it is, it's easier to read. Most of the time, I've seen my kids and the coder in my classes, they end up reading other people's code and then they read it that way. And I would like to bring up something what Ryan said earlier is, for example, a lot of times it needs that little bit of a hand-holding. I'm stuck here. I don't know how to solve. This is my environment-specific problem. That's where we encourage, talk to somebody in your community. Reach out to people that you know of who have been doing this for a while and see if they can help you nudge along that error.
If you like dead trees, my favorite book for getting people into beginning Java is a book called Head First Java. I think O'Reilly publishes it. It's a wonderful book for just I know nothing about programming and I want to learn programming, and you learn Java. And then so much of the modding community, at least on the server side and I believe on the client side as well, is all open source. All of the code that you could ever want to read for how to mod Minecraft is out there on GitHub. And most of the plugin and mod developers have made all of their code available for you to read and see exactly how they did what you want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I think reading the code is going to be the best way for you to learn not just the Java language itself, but also be able to program your own mods.
Can I take one
So,
suggestion for him? I think if you have
Can you go to the mic, please? Yeah, go to the mic, please. Yeah.
So I was actually a pretty good precursor to what I was about to go into. So a common concept I keep seeing mentioned is that how Minecraft is open, and that kind of enables people to go into it and mod it, and sharing example code with other people as something to learn from. And so I kind of know a little bit of the background of some of the people on the panel and their role in open source software communities. And for me personally, my first experience programming for Minecraft plugins was a few years ago. 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, oh, I was running my own Minecraft server, and I want to do this thing with my server, and I want to get this idea. I want that to be a thing where people who are playing on my server can do that. So I looked to GitHub, and I'm looking at these plugins that people have wrote, all open source. The source code is all there. I can see exactly how they did, what their plugin's doing, and I can read that code to understand that. And my question was, I was curious about what your opinions are about the role of open source software as a tool and method to teach programming and things like Minecraft and even beyond just Minecraft. But I was really curious to know what your take on using open source as a tool for enabling kids to learn modding, and even going out beyond just the Minecraft context too.
I'll take a shot at it. Honestly, when we talk about open source at a corporate level, and I've been in the open source community for many years now. I've led open source communities at Sun, Oracle, and Red Hat, companies like that, which are known for their open source, not so much for some other companies. But when we talk at the corporate language, typically it boils down to what license are you using, which libraries can you use, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of corporate lingo around it. When we do open source with kids, to them, the only concept that matters, it's open and it's shareable. That's all they care about. They don't care about license, they don't care about whether it's GitHub, they don't care about whether it's GitLab, any of that. My son, he was reading code, and the way he was reading code is, he will Google it, as Justin was saying, they'll Google it, they will find a good GitHub repo, and they like it, they read the code, okay, cool. If they like it, they just tag it, because now they're following the repo. That's what it is. That's sort of, and it's the most powerful tool in terms of learning on how you want to do it. And Scratch is open source now. The whole platform is open source. So you can download you can git clone the entire Scratch workspace, and you can create your new items in there, and you can create your new platform on top of Scratch. So I think it's phenomenal.
And a lot of multiplayer servers are, they're modded because modding a server makes it more exciting. And a lot of people run really big servers. I run such a really big server. And we need to have people who are able to develop stuff for us. And a lot of kids see this, and our usual population is usually around the age, like middle school, high school age. They see that a lot. Sometimes see it and say, I want to make my own changes to this. I want to help write the code that runs on this server. And sometimes they'll ask, can I help? Or they'll just send me a private message and say, can you help me learn the program? I want to help you guys. Or some of them follow my GitHub just to see the stuff I do. And it feels like they want me to be a role model for them. So I ask as both a developer and a multiplayer server owner, what is the right thing to do when you have somebody who's interested in learning how to, code for you, but it's really hard to bring them in because, some people like us don't have infrastructure for bringing in new people, especially new people who don't know how to code. A better way to phrase my question is what's the right way to be a role model as a developer or a server owner?
I think it's an important question because a lot of students who get into coding, this becomes their role, right? It's you might be good at sports, you might be smart, but I am a programmer or I am a game developer. That's who they are. And so they take that role quite seriously. And so in order to model that role, I think is really important, like you've brought up. I think it's always tricky because obviously you don't have infinite resources to be helping everyone who pings you. But I think just treating them the way that you would want to be treated, as if you were talking to someone else whose project you were interested in, and then that person may not have time for you. So how would you want to be treated in that scenario? Maybe it's pointing them to other resources, but I think at the highest level is just speaking to them at the same level, even if they're a kid, and treating them the way that you would want to be treated in that situation, I think is the best step.
Thank you. Finally, first question from a girl. Why the modding community is so much boy intensive? Come on, guys.
It's actually what I was coming up to ask about. So I teach a lot of different types of sciences, and I think that Minecraft and modding present obviously an incredible opportunity to teach computer science. There's no question about that. Where I come from is I get two types of students who come to me, and I don't know how to answer their questions. And I don't actually know if I'm going to get this question answered here, but maybe you guys know more than I. One of the types of students I get is, I would love to learn how to mod, but I like people. I don't want to take an online course, and I can't afford it. How do I get to learn this anyway? What I try to teach, and I think Like when I try to do professional development with computer science teachers, it's like, yeah, we can teach you content with computer science, but how are you going to change the culture around computer science so it's not just programmers getting sandwiches and white dudes hanging out in the corner? Like, how do we expand it to include people who are like, I really like people, so I'm probably not going to be a programmer. That's where I struggle when I think about incorporating modding into my classes. The ways that I see it, I don't see it as something that's very inclusive. Could you help us figure out how we might be answering that challenge in the future?
I'll just answer that anecdotally from my perspective. Obviously, societal changes such as the whole programmer culture are going to take quite a long time to sort of gradually work up. But so I'm a university student. I've taken, first year computer science courses and all of that. And from my perspective, at least down in Australia, there is a good proportion of young females starting to get into those computer science degrees and actually, be part of the team and do all that coding. And so I think it's just something that you're going to see change. It might not be next year, might not be the year after, but come back in 10 years' time and you will see a much more even split and even involvement.
Just to add to that, I think, going back to a question over here, I think it's partly about role models. I think there's an onus on the community, if indeed Minecraft wants to lead on this, to actually show a bit more diversity. There are a lot of YouTubers, there are a lot of people who are very big in the community, and I think we have a responsibility to represent them. And indeed, having a female computer science teacher like you, that will be a role model for plenty of young girls. So I think it will change over time, but there's a bit of engineering, for want of a better word, to represent more diversity and showing these people that are leading the community.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share another anecdote from our side. We run this DevOps for Kids workshop, which are targeted towards kids. And on a given workshop, very easily, 30 to 40% of the attendees are girls at that level. These are like, we're talking about 6 to 16 years of age. And then I also help run the DevOps conference, which is a worldwide conference for adults. And there, the number of girl attendees is 5 to 10%. So somewhere that 35% is dropping out throughout the chain by the time it gets down to the adult conference, which is like 5 to 10%. So that is very discouraging. So I've been involved with several panels like this where we talk about, we want to get more girls into computer science tech, and that to me is very, very important. I really believe in that issue. I think it's a much bigger, larger issue than just Minecraft mods. When we did the very first workshop for Minecraft mods, this is almost 3.5 years ago, in my living room, we had 12 kids sitting around. My son's buddies were there because we figured out how to run a bucket server and how to do Minecraft mod, first one. Of 12, there was one girl, and I was super excited. I said, what, the boys will figure out. They'll fight with each other, they'll figure out how to code. My goal was to make sure that one girl goes back successfully with the mod running on her machine. So I think the impetus is on us than anybody else to make sure we give chances to that gender equality. We have just about 2 minutes, so maybe time for 1 or 2 more questions.
Do you think if Minecraft was created off of a simpler language like Lua, that the community would be bigger and there would be more advanced mods because of Lua or any other programming language being so much easier?
So I think you should look at some of the mods that Ryan has created. You'll be surprised how complex the mods can go. He has created a bunch of biomes and full worlds all together. Given that, I think one of the reasons Minecraft modding is successful, in my opinion, is because Java is such a wildly successful language, widely known. Lua, although it's a very simpler, easier language, but there is a bit of a learning curve involved to it, and then people have to kind of understand it. Not very many people know the language of Lua. So I think that, in my opinion, is a success factor for why Minecraft modding is so popular.
This question is mainly for Michael. So the Spigot forums pretty much don't have any mercy for someone that goes on there and posts with basic or no knowledge of Java, and they usually just send them an Oracle link and say, go figure it out. So where would you say people like that and have gotten roasted by all the Spigot people should start?
So I think what we're getting at here is perhaps not everyone is as supportive of people as they possibly could be. However, I think what you have to realize is that the internet is a big place, and it's a big scary place. We try to do as much as we can in our community, and every other online community you'll find is exactly the same, tries to keep everyone as civil as possible. However, it's not an exclusive behavior problem that you can entirely fix. There's always going to be people that will be aggressive to newcomers. You brought up my own community as the example, but if you go to Stack Exchange, Stack Overflow, you will see exactly the same thing. People will ask how to do a hello world, how to implement a sorting algorithm, how to do whatever, and every now and again people will completely shoot them down. And that's just something you've got to deal with. The guys on my right do a great job of providing a really supportive environment designed for learning. However, at the same time, if you decide to go into the world at large, then that's just how it is.
And I would totally support that, because it's not just anything with Spigot. I'm involved with several communities around the world in different languages, and that's a constant battle that you have to fight. So, yeah. All right, I think that was our last question, and we're going to be around if you want to ask any questions. Thank you so much.